All right. Back here working on some week two assignments. So I'm going to jump into this to our architectural lab here, 2208 for week two is where I want to jump to. Um, we've been going through all these Edpuzzle videos. We've done one, attached drawing already. This one will be for 8.1 assignment. So this AC Res 8.1 kind of follows this video, but it definitely is different. So I'm gonna jump in here and do this one. Let me jump in here, open this up. It just wants us to complete these. We can review to that video. I don't think in the first part of that video it shows exactly this though. So so I wanted to I wanted to go through it. So there's a PDF of instructions. So I have that open here. Just kind of a walkthrough on what we're gonna do. And so I'll go back to my assignment here. And then there's a DWT file. And we probably haven't even talked about this much, or hopefully I have, but just the different file types with the DW with a .dwg being like most common, like an AutoCAD drawing file. This one has already been saved as a template file, DWT file template. And so we're going to open this. So you would download both of these, and then I'll open them through AutoCAD. So I've already downloaded mine, and I've saved them in my folder for my week. And so now if I go over to AutoCAD, and I'm going to open my CAD for this year, and then I'll just open I'll open that DWT file. So if I go to open, yours might be, I'm going to just switch this. The default when you go to open in CAD, it might already be just looking for a DWG file. So this, we have to pay attention to what kind of file types we're looking for to open because it'll filter them for us. So I've got mine, and so I'm going to say, well, I want to go look for a DWT file because that's what that one is that you would have downloaded. Generally, it'll always drive you to the default DWT files that came with the program when it downloaded. So it really, once it knows I'm looking for a DWT file, it drives me to this place that was set up when I downloaded the program, and it has all these different DWTs that were just default DWT files that came with it. So I'm gonna look for that one that I saved, whether it's just in your downloads. Generally what I do is once I save to download, so I'll go to my downloads. Let's see. If I download it from Canvas, it'll just end up in my downloads. I tend to take these and then drop them into a folder for my class. So and um because that'll be saving it, I want to move it from just being on the desktop of the computer into my thumb drive. And so hold on just a minute. You just see, I just noticed I don't think my camera's working for this video, but I'm gonna keep going. So not that it matters too much, but you see the top of my head, but I'll turn on in the next video. So what I'm saying is for my downloads, I always tend to throw these into my if I bring up just my folder, my file management here. Once I've downloaded these, and this will be pretty commonplace for all the assignments, take them from downloads and drop them into your file structure. So once I downloaded, the assignment sheet and that DWT file, I take and drag those, essentially make a copy of them. Because your downloads, I think, will be getting wiped every day. It just won't save anything on the hard drive for these computers. For you got to save it on your thumb drives. So definitely get in the habit of dropping these into in my case, we're in 2208 and I have my weekly structure built. So I've taken and dropped these into my week two folder, just dragged and dropped them into here. And that's why I now have copies of these. And this is where I'm going to open from in CAD now, is from where it's on my thumb drive. So it's looking like where I want to find these. So I'm going to say, yeah, I have them in downloads, but I'm also going to just, since I've made copies on my drive, and They're in my architectural curriculum for this lab, and they're in week 2 that I'm working on. So there is this one, and I'm looking for that DWT file. There it is. So what we want to do is open this one up, open it. It's already got some work done, and all we're doing is just doing a manipulation of what's on here. So it's got they've come into model space here. Of course, they don't have their grid on. I like the grid on. I don't really like to snap to grid, but we've got some modeling that's been done, and then someone has like started a border or um, just a title block and border for a drawing. And so what the assignment wants us to do, if I just jump over to it, let's see, right here, it's just going to tell us we're going to convert this drawing into a block, insert a block into a drawing. So we kind of we jump into some technicalities here rather than just learning how to draw. Um, and so we can try this, see how successful we are. Uh, we're going to turn this block into a drawing, save the layout as a template. Download. So it says downloaded. I've already done that. I've got it open. This is what it looks like. So it looks like I got the right file. And then convert the title block into a block. So they're calling this a title block, like a border and a title block for a drawing. That's what this has been done. Uh, and it just tells us how to do this. Once go to the block panel and create. We got to give that thing a name when we do this. A block is just something that can be reused over and over. So once you've drawn it once and saved it as a block, it just becomes this reusable uh, this reusable um, component for my drawings. And so title blocks get done this way for sure. Um, I always think of a toilet, right? Once you've drawn a toilet once, you can save it as a block, and then you can insert it into different layouts over and over again. So a block to me is just something that I'm really going to reuse over and over and over and over and over again. And so if I spend the time drawing it once, create a block, it's ready to be reused over and over. And there are already some preloaded blocks in AutoCAD in the default. So there's a lot of the stuff that is already done. This is kind of a unique, individual title block and border. And it's not created into a block yet. So we're going to do that. So we're going to they say name it D size, exercise, title block. Um, talks about specifying the bottom left corner as the base point. It's because when you create a block and it just wants to know like what point on that are you going to insert by? So sometimes you insert by the center, sometimes you insert by an edge. It just says we're going to pick the bottom left corner of the title block as the base point for the objects to make up the block. Select all the items in the title block, and we're going to convert to block. Says scale uniformly. So there's some selections within when we do this that we have some selections we have to choose. We want to make sure only scale uniformly and allow exploding are selected. And then okay. And then that's going to like save that little thing as a block. And then we want to go and move over to out of the model area and onto a layout area or a layout sheet and insert that block onto the sheet. And it says insert it by at coordinate point 00. And I'm not super critical about that right now, but let's see, set the attribute to DWG001 and click OK. All right. Switch back to the model and then delete the stuff to prepare to use as a template. Save the drawing as a template. So this might be a template we use more in the future. That's interesting. Let's see. And then just name this block exercise template. Okay. I don't know if we're going to use this much actually beyond this. And then it just wants to do kind of a double check once we save this. Does it look like this? Okay, so let's go. Okay. So let me jump over it. So I've got CAD, I've got it open now. It wants to create this into a block, nothing here. It just wants to create this into a block. And so it's going to say create block here. So on my main home tab, on my ribbon menu, on this palette, clear over here, the block palette here. We're going to create, and it wants us to give us a name. move this around here. Um, and so what was the name it said to give it? So let's take a look real quick. Oh, it was like D size exercise title block. So D size exercise title block is what I'm going to give this a name of. So I'm going to come up in here and say D, sorry, something like this. Um, Objects, I think if I can do here, like, well, I'll just work from left to right. Pick point on screen. So it says pick the this left. I'm going to pick this lower left corner of this whole little drawing here. So I've got my snaps on this one here, so I can pick the endpoints of that lines. That one. Then this comes back up, so it has my endpoints. And then objects. I'm going to select my objects. And so I'm just going to do a window select, which is just everything here. So I'm just going to go from left to right. Oh, sorry. Like this. That's going to select everything. I think if I can just hit enter or right click and hit enter. So I've selected all these objects. The behavior, we want to scale uniformly and we want to allow exploding. And I don't think I need to fill out anything else in inches. I'm just going to say okay. And drawing number. Oh, it wants me to read. So this isn't this is a block with the attributes, which is the drawing number here. So I'm going to say it's, I think we said change it to 001. I'm going to say okay. And then I'm going to insert that. And it looks like on this particular, they've already like named the layout D size layout here. I don't know if the page setup manager has been set up to plot to a D size sheet. That's not something that's really included in this assignment sheet, but they just want me to place it in here. So D size layout. We don't really know what this layout actually measures unless I do some checking and stuff and figure out if it's been like the paper that I'm seeing there. I can't always just assume that it is D size, even though somebody says it's D size on the tab. I need to do some checking here. And so, but let's not go into that too deep. Let's just see if I can place that block now. So what it says is come into this layout sheet, and then we're going to insert a block. So we should have that as an option to insert here. So if I say insert, sorry, if I open this up, I think generally your like most recently used or your recently created are going to be here. Like there it is right there. It's not like I have to go search for ones, but there's blocks in libraries. So I think for you guys it'll show up like this, like as the only one that's in this screen. So I'm going to select that, and then it wants to know where's the insertion point. Okay, well it's going to be lower left here. Oh, I think it actually says 0, 0. So I think it's kicking me out coordinates here to where I think maybe it's just 0, 0 without the add or the pound or anything. Let me just go 0, 0, hit enter. Oh yeah, and it wants me to tell it. This block is just it's a right block, so it has some attributes where you can edit as you place it. So that was 0, 0, 1 there. And I'll say okay. And I mean it does look like maybe they have set up the page because my outside border seems to be the outside edge of the paper, which I technically wouldn't really want to line there. But it's got the inside border. So I think this is all it wanted. Yeah, I think so. I think that's all we had to do. And then it just has a few instructions on maybe how to save this for this assignment. Let's take a look. Done this, we've inserted it, yep, we allowed exploding. We placed it on there. It looks like it fits from what they've got set up. And then it just says go back to the model tab and delete everything on it to prepare to use it as a template. So I think it even says I can get rid of this drawing stuff here, everything in the model space. So switch back and then save the drawing as a template as save as options. Select drawing template, block exercise template. You can put your name on there too if you want to. That it helps to have your name on these assignments because then it's not everybody has the exact same name. So I think one thing I'll implement is just adding your name or your initials or something just to differentiate between everybody else's drawings. It will be named the exact same thing a lot of times. So let's see. And then, and I just need to check it once I do all this. So let's go back to CAD. So here's that. That has been placed. So this is kind of unique and independent now from the model space. I've inserted a block onto the paper space, so it doesn't really have a connection to the model space necessarily, which is how we generally manage our titles, title blocks and borders and stuff. These blue, these are we haven't even talked about what these are, but these are what these are is like they're just windows, or they call them viewports, and they are. Oh, and I should say, I don't know what layer I inserted this on. I think layer 0 is where I never changed my layers. In no videos have we even like set up layers yet on drawings. This particular drawing does have like somebody has already set up a bunch of layers to insert on. I just went ahead. It wasn't clear in the instructions which layer to insert that on, so I just stayed on layer 0. If I went back over here, let me escape my command so I can jump back over to the model tab. This was created on layer 0, layer 0. And so I just reinserted it on layer 0 here. So generally, you might have we have a title block layer. Why it doesn't talk about going into the title block layer and setting it there, although that's where you would usually have a title block layer and not on layer 0. But this is fine for this. I'm on layer 0 where my title block is. It's pretty much where it was created in the model space, and that's where I've chose to insert it on the D size layout on that particular layer again. But you can come back in here now, and I'll jump over and say, yeah, these are on like this is a viewport. So these are windows that are looking into your model space. And we'll do a lot of this, so you don't have to worry about it too much as we get going. Somebody has already set up 2 viewports on this drawing, and they're looking into the model space in those particular areas, and that's why those images show up on my paper space here, is because these windows have been set up to look specifically at that location in model space. So just a viewport or a window looking in. So when I go in here to now, when I jump over to model space, like the assignment suggests, I'm going to delete all this. So once I delete all that, I'm going to just do a window selection to grab everything. That's just a point and drag away. If you go this way, it's only partial. Anything it partially gets, like right to left windows, they can just touch things to be able to select them. Left to right has to grab everything, otherwise it won't grab anything, right? So it has to grab everything. So I use both back and forth. In this case, we're just deleting this stuff. And what we'll see now, what I'm anticipating seeing, is when I jump back over to my D-size layout tab, it won't have any imagery in those viewports. Those viewports will still be there. There'll be those little rectangular boxes that are blue, but it won't have those things that were drawn that I just deleted along with that. And it should have my title block still because it was just a block that I placed. And so let's go over here and take a look, just like that. So now that we've created a block and inserted a block, it's really independent from that drawing that was done of it. So that's how templates and stuff are created. They're created in model space, they're turned into blocks, then they're just used like this. And then obviously those drawings disappeared from my windows. And so, and these you can leave on here. They're just 2 viewports, 2 windows that are ready for any modeling that I would do on this template now. And you can choose to where, I mean, um, they're always going to be looking like where they were set up. They're going to be looking specifically in that model space area, but you can adjust where that's looking just by looking into it and then moving around. Technically, when I click into these viewports, it's like, and I get this blue border around my model space now. This is how I would define like where I'm looking. Of course, there's nothing in model space right now, so there's nothing defined, but this is how I can redefine like where I'm looking in the model space for this viewport. And then to jump back out, is it this one? Minimize viewport. Yeah, I just jump back out there. I use the minimize viewport window to jump back into my layout space. So if I jumped into this one, it's the same way. It's like a different window, but looking into here. You must have limits set up on this. I don't know. Okay. Let's see. I'm jumping into there. And then I'm going to save this and I'll just refer back. So really I'm done. It looks like and then it's just a matter of verifying that it's correct. So I think it just tells me to save this as Oh, blocked exercise template. So I'm gonna go like do a save as. That may it'll keep the old one that yeah, so let's watch this here. So we'll jump back over here, block exercise. What did it say? Sorry, I never could. Block exercise template with my initials. I think I'll add to that. So I'm gonna jump over here to the AutoCAD symbol and say save as, which essentially is kind of like making a copy of that drawing. It'll leave your old one that has a different name, and I'll name this one different. This current name one is like this AC 8.1 DWT. I'm going to say save as. I'm going to keep it to be a drawing template. I'm just going to give it, and I'm going to put it in my folder where I want it. Because it's a DWT file, it's going to automatically drive to the default template file. And I'm going to say, no, I'm going to save it on my thumb drive, which is here. And you get used to some of this really repetitive tasks a lot of times. So mine's week 2, and that's the one that we've kind of opened and started with. But I'm giving it a new name. I'm not gonna, if I save it with the same name, it's going to overwrite this one. And maybe I want to keep that as the untouched assignment. And this one is going to just be called what it was a block exercise template. And then I would just put your initials on there, something, or your name or first name or something. Um, yeah, I'm not going to set a standard for that yet, but okay, say save. Because it's a template file, it's going to ask you to, if you want to add some description to this, I'm going to say okay without anything added, really, just default okay. So now I've got it. It should have changed the name of that block exercise template. Yep, right there. So really it's saved that as this. If I close this out now, I'm just back to no drawings open in CAD. It just says to verify that looks correct. So I'm just going to say, let's go open that file again. Of course, it's right here, but if you want to just double check from where it's on your most recently used ones. But if you just want to double check here, sorry, I'm kind of got to drive down a little bit here. There it is, block exercise template mat R. I'm looking for those types. I'm going to say open it, and it's back to that one. Has nothing in the draw model space, and has a template. Okay, that's it for this.